Hey everybody, let's talk about the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. So as you can see by this nice little diagram we have here, it's 26% whole grains, 24% dairy, 14% vegetables, and it kind of just decreases after that, right? And we see that they're a huge selling point, quote, for them is that water is naturally rich. Hey everybody, let's talk about the Nicoya Peninsula in Costa Rica. So as you can see by this nice little diagram we have here, it's 26% whole grains, 24% dairy, 14% vegetables, and then it kind of just decreases after that, right? And then we see that they're a huge selling point, quote, for them is that water is naturally rich in minerals. And I think this goes to the access piece that we talked about in the original video and all of the others in some way, shape, or form, is that having access to an environment, living within an environment that is able to provide you with nutrients and drinkable water and breathable air and have access to whole nutrient-dense foods is a huge benefit, and not everyone has access. And that's okay, because that doesn't mean that you can't still take some of these things from these areas, use them, and learn from them. So the meal that I actually prepared inspired by this area of Costa Rica was actually using frozen tostones, pre-made guac, pre-made pico de gallo, and canned baked beans. And yes, it all would have tasted so much better and had a few more nutrients had they not been frozen or pre-made, if I had made it all from scratch. However, not everyone has access to do that. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing to have a healthy snack, a nutritionally dense snack that you both like, has some sort of significance to it, and that is easy to prepare. Because in a perfect world, we wouldn't have to worry about resources in order to have nutritious food, but that's not the world we live in. So in order to make these things applicable, we have to get creative sometimes. And I think getting creative in how we approach our food and how we approach our lifestyles, especially surrounding food, is incredibly important. And what I really enjoyed, I think the most, probably watching the documentary on this particular area in Costa Rica, was that it was calm, it was quiet, people were resourceful, they truly enjoyed the environment they were existing in. And when we talk about diet and when we talk about nutrition and we talk about health and well-being, oftentimes environment gets pushed aside. But think about the people who need this the most are not the people who live here, or are not the people who live there. They're the people who are watching this video and reading the Blue Zone's website and watching the documentary. Are most of the people doing this are not people who live in these areas. They don't need this resource. We do. They've got it figured out. Now, I'm not saying that their lives are perfect and that there aren't things that could probably be better, but like life outlook and philosophy-wise, mental health, being part of a community, having access to foods that are from the earth, breathable air, drinkable water. Not everyone has access to that. And one of the things that I really like about the Blue Zones project is that it's actually like they're popping up in more areas around the US, trying to recreate environments in which healthy, beneficial lifestyles are sustainable. And having a sustainable source of food, water, and clean air is life-changing. I've lived in a couple areas where the water was not drinkable without excessive amounts of heating, processing, whatever it was. It depended on the area, or you had to bring in water from somewhere else. So not having access to drinkable water, that can really alter
This information is general information and not intended
our health
to
and
diagnose
well-being.
or
We
prescribe
could
in
be
any way.
dehydrated. We could be missing electrolytes and
is
micronutrients that we would be getting from natural spring water, natural sources of water. But not only that, our bones and our muscles don't get what we need. And when those things start to not feel well, we start to physically feel bad. When we chronically physically feel ill, it's really, really hard to not get in your head about how bad you feel about feeling bad. So I think the biggest lesson that I took from Costa Rica is that this little pie chart, it really shows a variety in things that people are eating: whole grains, dairy, and both of those things, that makes up half of what they eat is whole grains and dairy. And those are two things that we have been told in the US for decades to avoid, off and on, of course. Now that has to do with processing, it has to do with what's trending, it has to do with a lot of different things. But if you look at this pie chart and you think about, okay, this is a lot of different things, how can I apply a variety of foods just like this into my life in a way that is doable for me? Once again, taking control of your own health and well-being in ways that you can. Because there are some ways that it's just not going to work out like that. And getting creative is a lot of times what it takes. So for this, I actually turned on, it was a playlist from the last time that I was in Costa Rica. And the tostones were not as good as what we would get there because they were from a box at Walmart. But it's what I had access to. It's what I had time for that day. And I still got the nutrients from it. So I turned on this playlist and I made this food. I recorded this video. And then I just sat and I ate it, listening to the music and remembering what that experience was. And that brought me joy. Not just the food, because tostones and guacamole is one of my absolute favorite snacks just because it's so easy, but it's all like it fills me up. It's so good. There's so many nutrients in it. And so not only did I sit and I enjoyed my food, I enjoyed the memories. I enjoyed the music that I was listening to. So it became this entire sensory experience instead of just, all right, time to eat. What's my diet say I can today? It was it was an experience. I shared it with my dogs. There were no humans with me at the time. But I did share some of it with my dogs. And even handing them just a little piece of something that was obviously safe for dogs to eat. Handing them just a little piece of something made me feel good because the meal that I made, it was a large snack, so it was basically a meal. The food that I had just made, I got to share with someone, even though it was my dogs. It was still really, really, it was a good feeling. And getting creative with how to have these experiences and how to incorporate these things into our lives in a variety of ways. Like, sometimes it helps people to write things out, sometimes it doesn't, but make a list of all of your favorite fruits, vegetables, natural grains, any sort of legumes that you like, and then make a list of meats that you like. Make a list of processed foods that you like, and then create your own little pie chart that's majority fruits and vegetables of what the kinds of fruits and vegetables you like,
best out of what you have,
and then
available as much
adjust
as
it based
possible
on what your
to
other
ensure
nutritional needs
good,
are,
bad,
and then
foods,
try and
with
expand it once you've
resource
gotten used to it.
availability,
So there are
anything
so many
else.
creative ways that we can eat healthily and enjoy our lives and not have to be obsessed and consumed with it, and not feel as though because we don't have resources available to us that makes us less somehow. So So what if your tostones come out of the freezer? That's okay.
negate
There's nothing
food
wrong with that.
bad
So what if you
comes
don't
with lack of
have
resource
the
availability or
emotional
anything else
capacity at
that
the time
comes
to make
with
homemade guacamole, which is so much better?
vastly
I make really good guac, and I'm always a little bummed when I don't make my own. But there are some days I just don't
lack
have
of
the
resource
emotional capacity to make
availability
it.
or anything
So
else that comes
I add
with a
some cilantro,
vastly
a little bit of lime,
complex universe.
stir it up in the bowl that it came pre-made in. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because yes, those foods are processed, but they're not
Subtract
ultra
and negate from
processed,
the
so they
bad
haven't
that comes
taken
with lack
on
of resource
a lot of
availability or anything
those
else that
really
comes with
unhealthy
a
chemicals
vastly
that just
complex
get
universe
pumped
known as
into
our
it.
health.
So I still got nutrients, and I still got the joy of sharing my food with someone, my dogs, listening to music while I did it, and having those memories of being there. And it was a very holistic experience, and I feel as though more of us would feel better about the food that we eat, mentally, emotionally, etc., if we stop assigning moral value to it and we stop assigning what is right and wrong as far as whether it's
encouragement,
exactly how someone taught you how to make it, whether it was a family member or someone from that culture. And I'm not saying to disrespect cultural foods.
It is merely an effort to share encouragement with those who need it.
We've all seen some pretty
and
atrocious videos of that.
information.
What I'm saying is, don't feel like you can't experience something, learn from something, or benefit from something if you can't go all out with it. And that's okay. That's truly 150% okay. And we need to start being a little bit more okay with that within ourselves. Because when was the last time you sat down, turned on a playlist that matched the meal you were eating, shared it with someone or some things, and just truly But sourdough is one of my favorite types of bread. I actually have a really good friend that makes some of the best sourdough bread ever. And every time I have some that's not hers, it's not quite as enjoyable. But so not only was I able to take ingredients from somewhere to inspire something that I created, it made me think about a friend. I enjoyed how it tasted. I got to replay some of the memories that we had whenever we lived in the same area. Like, people don't realize how experiential food can be and how we don't have to take things so rigidly and so seriously in order to benefit from the foods that we're eating. And I think my dinky little sourdough egg sandwich the other day, it hit the spot. Like, I was full for a really long time. I felt energized. It was delicious. I got to think about my friend, send him a message, because why not? And the temperatures, the tastes, the textures, like, there was a lot of variety in this one. And I thought that was really, really cool. So, and it was particularly cool because one of the highlights that they point out on one of these maps for what the focus in Sardinia is laughter and daily wine. But I didn't need wine with my brunch, so I didn't have that. I mean, if I had some, I would have, I don't know. Yeah, I probably would have tried it just to, the experience. But daily wine and laughter, those are the things that pop up for Sardinia. Now, wine is more a part of their daily culture than it is mine. So there's a difference there. But laughter, I can get on board with that one. That for sure is a central component to my mental health anyway, is laughter. I've actually had a couple therapists tell me that I need to stop dealing with my mental health through comedy. And then I had several others that I preferred that told me that I actually use comedy in a very beneficial and healthy way to deal with my issues. So if you're a comedic person, the Sardinians say laughter is important and is part of your Blue Zone diet plan now. So don't forget to laugh. So in this one, I got to create something which is helpful and beneficial to me. I got to think about a friend, which is always nice. I laughed a little while I was telling you guys about it. So, and embracing whole grains. We don't have to be scared of as many foods as we are scared of. We don't have to ostracize and belittle and degrade and put a moral value on as many foods as we do. Because as we can see from all of these different areas and all of these different maps, it's not one size fits all. And it's not one size fits all per community. It's definitely not one size fits all across the globe. It's not per country. It's not per community. Like, there's not a single demographic breakdown of any form that I have come across where every single person that meets that criteria has the exact same health needs, the exact same nutritional needs. And that's okay. So when you share food with people, when you eat with people, when you laugh with people, you're not just when you eat and laugh and share all in one setting with people, you're not just nourishing your bodies with the food that you're eating. You're nourishing your minds with the conversation and your souls with the company. And I think that's something that we dismiss far too often. And that goes back into the community piece that we talked about early on, and how what evolutionary medicine tells us is a community is a big part of surviving and existing and experiencing as human beings. And a big part of the health around, or the healthy, beneficial interactions and mentality surrounding food, a lot of that has to do with our immediate surroundings and the people that we interact with. So when we surround ourselves with people who see food as something to enjoy and embrace and share instead of something to fear and log and calculate, if you feel more comfortable and more healthy and more beneficial in your own skin when it comes to how you interact with food and your mental and physical health as well, if the people that you're surrounded by don't feel like a good fit, it's okay to find other people. You don't have to completely dump them. You don't have to drop them. You don't have to say, well, you eat these foods and I can't eat these foods, so therefore we can't hang out anymore. But if you all can reach an understanding about, this is important to me, that's important to them, we can meet in the middle here, that's great too. But if their values don't line up with yours, if they are constantly doing things and saying things and feeling things and exposing you to things that are counterintuitive to where you want to go, find a circle of people that have those same values, those same goals, those same trajectories, philosophies, life outlooks, worldviews, etc., and spend time with them so that way they can boost you along the way. And don't be scared. Don't be scared. Like, If you want to eat a bowl of pasta, have a bowl of pasta. If you want the pasta to be as nutritionally dense as it possibly can be, and you want to turn it into a whole thematic dinner and you share it with a bunch of people, make your pasta from scratch. There are a lot of different ways to embrace food and embrace mental well-being and physical health around food and how they interact with each other, as well as the company that we keep and the outlooks on life that we have. And being able to feel comfortable around people that you're laughing with and sharing food with and experiencing life with, being comfortable around them, it's going to set your nervous system at ease. And when your nervous system is set at ease and you're not stressed about what can I and can't I eat and who's going to think what and what about this, and oh, well, so-and-so's vegan and so-and-so goes to the gym this many times, and oh, well, they're going to judge me because I ate. Those should not be the interactions that you're having with friends. When you're with friends and family and your community and your people, you should be able to relax and not stress and just enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the company, enjoy the food. Because nourishing our minds, bodies, and souls all at the same time is far more beneficial than nourishing one and neglecting the others, or doing it one at a time. If you can create these nice little blue zone areas in your life and these little blue zone pockets in your life where you get to enjoy food that nourishes your body around people in an environment that nourish your mind and your soul as well, it's quite a good feeling. And it really helps with the whole mind-body experience, and it helps with our approach in the future to food. And I think all of those things are very, very important for our mental, physical, emotional, cultural, etc., health. So, Sardinia. Thanks, everybody. Hey, everybody. Let's talk about Italy. So the Blue Zone in Italy is located in Sardinia. And I actually had a really good time learning about the differences between what we would consider to be like Italian cuisine and Sardinian cuisine. And as we can see from this little pie chart, 47% of the type of foods that they consume are whole grains. Like, haven't we been told our whole lives that carbs are bad? So the difference, one, is how the grains are utilized, grown, processed, prepared, etc., there versus here. So that's part of it. But another part of it is what whole grains. So their main source is barley. And upon reading a little bit more about Sardinia, they actually use a lot of sourdough bread. It's in the documentary piece as well. And so what I did for the meal for this one was, it was a Sardinian inspired meal. So I got some I was going to make something completely different, and then I got up and was craving some variation of it. So I thought, why not? Let's use the ingredients that I know are part of this area's like commonly used ingredients, and let's make it into something similar to what I'm craving right now. So I ended up making a sourdough egg sandwich for like a brunch, which was not anywhere on a list of recipes from Sardinia, but it used the sourdough bread. I had some homemade pesto, some tomatoes, some farm fresh eggs, and then just a tiny, tiny bit of like a 4 Italian cheese sprinkle. I probably didn't even need it, but it was good, so I used it. And 26% of what they eat is dairy, so I figured if it's, acceptable, I'm going to put a little dairy on this because I love cheese. But what the coolest takeaway from this one was not only learning about culture and food preparation and things like that, but reinforcing the idea that it's a-okay to buy ingredients and then recreate something that fits for you currently that was inspired by someone a long time ago in a completely different location. And I think that's really something that a lot of us could probably do a little bit better, is instead of stealing things from people and trying to pass them off as ours or as something new, because for a lot of people, that's going to carry a little bit of weight around. For other people, they just don't care. But if you're somebody who is overly conscious about not disrespecting a traditional recipe or wanting to do things correctly, if you are one of those people who genuinely cares about the things that you're doing, you're eating, you're participating in, things like that, don't ever feel bad about taking ingredients inspired by an area and then creating something that's delicious and beautiful and tasty and wonderful and shareable, etc. Whatever your goal is at the time, don't ever feel bad about taking ingredients from somewhere and repurposing them in a way that's beneficial to you. So like, no, I did not see this particular sandwich on anything that I read about Sardinia, but it contains all of the ingredients. I think eggs are the only thing that I don't see on there, but it's an egg. It's okay. And the use of things that we are scared of or that we think are bad for us in the US is something that I took away from this area in particular, because how many of us have been told not just carbs, but bread? Don't eat bread.
Welcome to Singapore， 降落在 Singapore， 你们在 Singapore 的剧场一抓 Pokemon。Welcome to Singapore， 降落在 Singapore， 你们在 Singapore 的剧场一抓 Pokemon。我起床就要去完美，你必须给我高调排面，口碑并非卡也不是看也没有差别，都特别让人怀念。某个 center 的昂迪昂个黑光动眼，超多同行家一帮眼黑。